Nathan, a young art dealer with an insatiable hunger for success, navigated the labyrinthine halls of the dilapidated mansion. The air was thick with dust and the scent of decay, but he could hardly contain his excitement. He had heard whispers of an estate sale brimming with rare and valuable art, and he was determined to claim his prize. As he turned a corner, his gaze fell upon a series of paintings that seemed to radiate an otherworldly energy. The Crying Boy paintings. He had heard rumors of their existence, of their haunting beauty and the dark curse that followed them. But he had never seen them in person, and the sight of them now sent a shiver down his spine. Nathan approached the paintings, drawn to their melancholic allure. The tears that streaked the boy's face seemed to glisten in the dim light, as if they were freshly shed. He felt a strange connection to the boy in the painting, a sense of shared sorrow that he couldn't quite put his finger on. He knew that acquiring the Crying Boy paintings would be a risky move. The rumors of the curse were enough to make even the most seasoned collectors wary. But Nathan was a gambler at heart, and he was willing to take the risk if it meant securing his place in the art world. As he made his way back to his gallery, the paintings carefully wrapped and stowed away in the back of his car, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. He glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the boy from the paintings staring back at him. But all he saw was his own reflection, his eyes gleaming with ambition and a hint of fear. Over the next few days, Nathan worked tirelessly to prepare the gallery for the unveiling of the Crying Boy paintings. He hired a team of experts to restore the paintings to their former glory, and he spared no expense in promoting the event. He knew that this was his chance to make a name for himself, to prove that he was more than just a young upstart in a world dominated by older, more established dealers. As the date of the unveiling drew nearer, Nathan found himself growing increasingly obsessed with the paintings. He would spend hours staring at them, trying to decipher the meaning behind the boy's tears. He began to research the history of the Crying Boy paintings, uncovering a web of tragedy and betrayal that seemed to cling to them like a shroud. He learned that the paintings were said to be cursed, that anyone who owned them would be plagued by misfortune and heartache. But Nathan refused to believe in such superstitions. He was a man of science and reason, and he was convinced that there was a rational explanation for the strange occurrences that seemed to follow the paintings. It was during his research that Nathan first encountered Evelyn, a seasoned art historian who was well-versed in the history and mythology surrounding the Crying Boy paintings. She was a striking woman in her 50s, with sharp features and piercing green eyes that seemed to see right through him. Nathan was immediately drawn to her, both for her knowledge and her no-nonsense attitude. Evelyn warned Nathan about the dangers of tampering with the Crying Boy paintings, but he brushed her concerns aside. He was convinced that he could break the curse, that he could unlock the secrets of the paintings and use them to his advantage. And so, with Evelyn's reluctant assistance, Nathan delved deeper into the mystery of the Crying Boy paintings, unaware of the horrors that awaited him. As the unveiling approached, the gallery was abuzz with excitement. Collectors and critics alike clamored to get a glimpse of the infamous Crying Boy paintings, and Nathan reveled in the attention. He felt like he was on the verge of something great, that he was about to make history. But as the night of the unveiling wore on, Nathan began to notice strange occurrences that he couldn't explain. Objects seemed to move on their own, and he could have sworn he heard whispers coming from the shadows. He tried to dismiss it as the product of an overactive imagination, but the feeling of unease refused to dissipate. It was then that he first met Maximilian, a wealthy and eccentric collector who had been searching for the Crying Boy paintings for years. Maximilian was a man of indeterminate age, with a gaunt face and piercing blue eyes that seemed to bore into Nathan's very soul. He was immediately taken with the paintings, and he made no secret of his desire to acquire them. Nathan was wary of Maximilian, but he couldn't deny the allure of his offer. If he sold the Crying Boy paintings to Maximilian, he would be set for life. He could finally prove to the world that he was more than just a young upstart, that he was a force to be reckoned with in the art world. But Evelyn was adamantly opposed to the sale. She warned Nathan that Maximilian was not to be trusted, that he was a dangerous man with a dark past. Nathan tried to brush her concerns aside, but he couldn't shake the feeling that she was right. As the night wore on, The tension between Nathan, Evelyn, and Maximilian grew palpable. It seemed that the very air was charged with electricity, as if a storm was brewing just beyond the horizon. And as Nathan stared at the crying boy paintings, he couldn't help but feel that he was standing on the precipice of something terrible. But the lure of success was too strong to resist. Nathan was a gambler, and he was willing to risk everything to come out on top. And so, with a sense of dread gnawing at his insides, he made the fateful decision to sell the crying boy paintings to Maximilian. As the contracts were signed and the money exchanged hands, Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. He knew that he had made a deal with the devil, that he had unleashed something dark and dangerous into the world. But it was too late to turn back now. The crying boy paintings were no longer his responsibility, and he could only hope that he had made the right decision. But as he watched Maximilian leave the gallery, the crying boy paintings in tow, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that he had sealed his own fate, that the curse of the crying boy paintings had finally caught up with him. And so, with a heavy heart, Nathan turned to Evelyn, his one remaining ally in a world gone mad. Together they vowed to uncover the truth behind the crying boy paintings, to break the curse and put an end to the cycle of tragedy and betrayal. But little did they know that they were about to embark on a journey that would test the limits of their courage, their sanity, and their very will to survive. The morning after the unveiling, Nathan and Evelyn met at the gallery, the air still heavy with the residue of the previous night's events. The crying boy paintings were gone, leaving only empty spaces on the walls where they had once hung. Nathan couldn't help but feel a sense of loss, as if a part of him had been ripped away. Evelyn, on the other hand, seemed more determined than ever. "We need to find out more about Maximilian," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "There's something about him that I don't trust." Nathan nodded in agreement. He had felt the same unease around Maximilian, but he had been too blinded by ambition to heed the warning signs. Now, with the paintings out of his possession and the curse seemingly unbroken, he was beginning to realize the gravity of his mistake. Together they delved deeper into the history of the crying boy paintings, uncovering a web of tragedy and betrayal that seemed to cling to them like a shroud. They learned of the countless owners who had been plagued by misfortune, of the lives that had been destroyed by the curse, and at the center of it all was Maximilian, a man who seemed to wield an uncanny power over the art world. As they dug deeper, they began to uncover whispers of Maximilian's dark past. There were rumors of illicit deals, of stolen artwork and blackmail, and there were whispers of something even darker, something that seemed to defy explanation. Some said that Maximilian was not a man at all, but a creature of the night, a being who fed on the suffering of others. Nathan and Evelyn were skeptical at first, but as they continued their investigation, they began to see a pattern emerging. It seemed that wherever Maximilian went, misfortune followed, and it seemed that the crying boy paintings were the key to his power. They decided to confront Maximilian, to demand answers and put an end to the curse once and for all. But they knew that they would need evidence, proof that Maximilian was behind the suffering that had plagued the owners of the crying boy paintings. They began to follow Maximilian, tracking his movements and gathering information. It was a dangerous game, but they were determined to see it through. And as they delved deeper into Maximilian's world, they began to realize that they were not the only ones who were interested in the crying boy paintings. There were others, shadowy figures who seemed to lurk at the edges of their investigation. They were always just out of sight, but Nathan and Evelyn could feel their presence, a palpable sense of menace that seemed to hang in the air. They didn't know who these figures were or what they wanted, but they knew that they were not to be trifled with. As the days turned into weeks, Nathan and Evelyn found themselves drawn closer together. They had become a team, bound by their shared determination to break the curse and bring Maximilian to justice. And as they worked together, they began to develop feelings for each other, a deep connection that went beyond their mutual interest in the crying boy paintings. But their newfound happiness was short-lived. One night, as they were leaving the gallery, they were ambushed by a group of men. They were rough and brutal, their faces hidden behind masks, and they seemed to know exactly who Nathan and Evelyn were and what they were after. Nathan and Evelyn fought back with all their strength, but they were no match for the men. They were beaten and left for dead in an alleyway, their bodies bruised and broken. And as they lay there, gasping for breath, they knew that they were in grave danger. They had crossed a line, and Maximilian was not going to let them get away with it. They had to find a way to stop him, to put an end to the curse once and for all. But they knew that it would not be easy. They were up against a powerful and ruthless enemy, and they would need all their strength and cunning to survive. And so, with a renewed sense of determination, Nathan and Evelyn set out to uncover the truth behind the Crying Boy paintings. They would follow the trail wherever it led, no matter how dangerous or difficult. They would stop at nothing to break the curse and bring Maximilian to justice. But little did they know that they were about to stumble upon a secret that would change everything. A secret that would reveal the true nature of the Crying Boy paintings and the terrible price that had been paid to create them. A secret that would force them to confront their deepest fears and darkest desires. As they delved deeper into the mystery, they would discover that the line between art and reality was not as clear as they had once thought. And they would come to realize that the curse of the Crying Boy paintings was not just a story, but a living, breathing entity that threatened to consume them all. Chapter 3. The curse revealed. Nathan and Evelyn's investigation led them to an abandoned mansion on the outskirts of the city. It was said to be the former residence of the artist who had created the Crying Boy paintings, a man who had disappeared without a trace. As they approached the mansion, they could feel a sense of dread hanging in the air. The building was decrepit and crumbling, its once grand facade now marred by decay and neglect. But there was something else, something that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. It was a palpable sense of sorrow, of loss and despair. They made their way inside, their footsteps echoing through the empty halls. The mansion was a labyrinth, filled with twists and turns that seemed to lead nowhere. But as they delved deeper, they began to uncover a series of hidden rooms, each one more disturbing than the last. In one room, they found a collection of sketches and paintings, all depicting the same Crying Boy. But these were not like the paintings that Nathan had acquired at the estate sale. These were raw and visceral, filled with a sense of anguish that was almost too much to bear. In another room, they found a series of journals, written in a frantic, desperate scrawl. They were the artist's diaries, detailing his descent into madness as he worked on the Crying Boy paintings. 004. It seemed that the artist had become obsessed with the boy, consumed by a need to capture his essence on canvas. But it was in the final room that they made their most shocking discovery. There, hidden away in the darkness, was a portrait of Maximilian. But it was not the Maximilian that they knew, the wealthy and eccentric collector. This was a Maximilian from another time, a Maximilian who seemed to radiate an aura of power and menace. And as they stared at the portrait, they began to understand the true nature of the curse. Maximilian was not just a collector, he was the source of the curse itself. He had somehow managed to imbue the Crying Boy paintings with his own dark energy, using them as a conduit to feed on the suffering of others. Nathan and Evelyn were horrified by what they had discovered. They had been so focused on breaking the curse that they had never stopped to consider its true nature. And now they realized that they were up against something far more powerful and dangerous than they had ever imagined. They knew that they had to stop Maximilian, to put an end to the curse once and for all. But they also knew that they couldn't do it alone. They needed help, someone who understood the true nature of the curse and how to break it. And so they turned to the one person who might be able to help them, the caretaker of the abandoned mansion. He was an old man, with a face that seemed to be etched with lines of sorrow. But there was a fire in his eyes, a determination that belied his age. Together, they hatched a plan. They would confront Maximilian at his own estate, using the knowledge they had gained to break the curse and put an end to his reign of terror. It would not be easy, and they knew that they were taking a great risk. But they also knew that it was the only way to save themselves and the countless others who had been affected by the curse. As they prepared for the confrontation, Nathan and Evelyn couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. They knew that they were walking into the lion's den, that they were facing a foe who would stop at nothing to protect his power. But they also knew that they had come too far to turn back now. They had uncovered the truth behind the crying boy paintings, and they had a responsibility to see it through to the end. And so, with a sense of determination and purpose, they set out to face Maximilian and break the curse once and for all. The confrontation was intense, a battle of wills that seemed to stretch on for an eternity. Maximilian was powerful, more powerful than they had ever imagined. But Nathan and Evelyn were not alone. They had the caretaker's knowledge, and they had each other. In the end, it was Evelyn who broke the curse. She had always been drawn to the crying boy paintings, had always felt a connection to the boy's sorrow, and as she stood before Maximilian, she realized that she had the power to free him, to release him from the curse that had bound him for so long. With a cry of determination, she reached out and touched the painting, her fingers tracing the boy's tear-streaked face. And as she did, she felt a surge of energy, a rush of power that seemed to flow through her very being. The curse was broken, the darkness that had surrounded Maximilian dissipating like smoke in the wind. And as the crying boy paintings lost their power, Maximilian himself seemed to wither and fade, his once imposing figure now reduced to a frail and broken shell. As they left the estate, Nathan and Evelyn knew that they had accomplished something incredible. They had broken the curse, had freed the boy from his eternal torment. And they had done it together, their bond stronger than ever. But they also knew that the world was still a dangerous place, filled with secrets and darkness. And they knew that they would always be drawn to the mysteries of the art world, to the beauty and the pain that it represented. And so, as they walked hand in hand into the night, they knew that their journey was far from over. But they also knew that they would face whatever challenges came their way, together. In the end, it was not the curse that defined them, but their love for each other and their determination to make the world a better place. And as they looked out at the city, they knew that they were ready for whatever came next. As the days passed, Nathan and Evelyn found themselves drawn deeper into the mystery of the crying boy paintings. Their initial fascination had turned into an obsession, and they spent every waking moment researching the history of the artwork and the curse that seemed to follow it. Their investigation led them to the local museum, where they hoped to find more information about the artist who had created the paintings. As they walked through the halls, they couldn't help but feel a sense of unease, as if they were being watched. Evelyn noticed it first. "Do you feel that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathan nodded, his eyes scanning the room. "It's like someone's following us." They quickened their pace, making their way to the museum's archives. As they sifted through the files, they found a series of letters written by the artist, detailing his struggles with the curse. "Listen to this," Evelyn said, her voice trembling as she read from one of the letters. "I can feel the darkness growing inside me, consuming me. The boy in the painting is more than just a subject. He is a manifestation of my own despair." Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. "This is worse than we thought. The curse isn't just affecting the people who own the paintings, it's affecting the artist himself." As they continued to read, they discovered that the artist had become increasingly paranoid and delusional, convinced that the boy in the painting was haunting him. He had eventually taken his own life, leaving behind a series of disturbing paintings that seemed to capture the essence of his madness. "We need to find out more about the boy in the painting," Nathan said, his voice grim. "Maybe there's a way to break the curse and free him from this torment." Evelyn nodded in agreement. "But where do we start? We don't even know who he is." As they left the museum, they noticed a strange man watching them from across the street. He was tall and thin with sharp features and piercing eyes. Nathan felt a sense of unease as the man stared at them, a cold smile playing on his lips. "Who is that?" Evelyn asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Nathan shook his head. "I don't know, but we need to be careful. Something tells me he's not just a casual observer." As they made their way back to the gallery, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being followed. Every shadow seemed to hide a lurking figure, every sound a whispered threat. When they arrived at the gallery, they found it in disarray. Paintings were knocked off the walls, shattered glass littered the floor, and the crying boy paintings were gone. Nathan felt a surge of panic. "They've been stolen. We need to call the police." Evelyn nodded, her face pale. "But who would do this and why?" As they waited for the police to arrive, they noticed a strange symbol etched into one of the walls. It was a crude drawing of a crying boy surrounded by a series of intricate lines and symbols. Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. This is more than just a theft. It's a warning. As the police questioned them, they tried to explain what had happened, but they knew that they sounded crazy. Who would believe them? A cursed painting, a mysterious man, and a series of strange occurrences. It all seemed too far-fetched. As the night wore on, Nathan and Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that they were in grave danger. They decided to spend the night at the gallery, afraid to leave in case something happened to the remaining paintings. As they lay in the dark, listening to the sounds of the city outside, they couldn't help but feel a sense of despair. They had come so far, but it seemed that the curse was too powerful to be broken. But then, as they were drifting off to sleep, they heard a faint sound, like a child crying. They sat up, their hearts racing as they tried to pinpoint the source of the sound. It seemed to be coming from the wall where the symbol was etched. As they approached it, they could see that the lines and symbols were glowing, pulsing with a strange energy. Nathan reached out to touch the symbol, his hand trembling. As he did, he felt a surge of power, a rush of energy that seemed to flow through his entire body. Suddenly, the wall began to crumble, revealing a hidden room behind it. Inside, they found a series of paintings, each one more disturbing than the last. They were all of the same boy, his face twisted in agony, his eyes filled with tears. As they looked closer, they realized that the paintings were more than just artwork. They were a window into the boy's soul, a glimpse into the darkness that had consumed him. Nathan felt a sense of overwhelming sadness as he looked at the paintings. "We have to help him," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Evelyn nodded, her eyes filled with tears. "We'll do whatever it takes." As they made their way back to the gallery, they knew that they had a long road ahead of them, but they also knew that they were not alone. They had each other, and they had the power of art on their side. Together, they would face whatever challenges came their way, determined to break the curse and free the boy from his eternal torment. As they drifted off to sleep, wrapped in each other's arms, they knew that they were ready for whatever came next. They were not just art dealers and curators. They were warriors, fighting against the darkness that threatened to consume them all. Nathan and Evelyn continued their quest to break the curse of the crying boy paintings, their determination unwavering despite the dangers that lay ahead. With each step, they grew closer to unraveling the mystery and freeing the boy from his eternal torment. Their journey was filled with obstacles and challenges, but they faced them with courage and resilience. Along the way, they encountered unexpected allies who helped them in their quest, and together, they forged a path toward redemption. Finally, after months of tireless effort and unwavering determination, Nathan and Evelyn succeeded in breaking the curse. The boy in the paintings was finally free, his tears replaced with a sense of peace and tranquility. As they stood before the now serene paintings, Nathan and Evelyn knew that they had accomplished something truly remarkable. They had not only saved the boy trapped in the paintings, but had also liberated themselves from the darkness that had threatened to consume them. With the curse finally broken, Nathan and Evelyn returned to their lives, forever changed by their harrowing journey. But they carried with them the lessons they had learned and the bond they had forged, knowing that together they could overcome any challenge that lay ahead. And as they looked towards the future, they did so with hope and optimism, ready to face whatever adventures awaited them, knowing that they had faced their greatest challenge and emerged victorious.